been ongoing for 6 months. And now, many businesses are actually looking to keep their, business afloat, or even some are even failed to do so, and they cease their operation, lay off their workers, stuff like that. So as we are coming to the last quarter of the year, perhaps we can ask the speaker here today, do you think business should expand their business in times of crisis like this? Should they continue to expand, or should they, hold back? So, yeah, can any one of you start off with the question?
Probably let me just take the first step on it first. I think, in terms of crisis, since this is especially this is a global crisis, it probably level the whole entire playing field for everyone. I mean, it almost like everybody is actually now working from home, and most businesses are actually affected one way or another. And while it takes a while for some businesses to recover, some actually goes on very, very well. It could have some of these businesses probably could not have actually survived if it's without this pandemic, and some of these new businesses are actually born because of this pandemic. I think end of the day, if you're talking about how to should actually business expand at this moment, I think the answer is yes. But we probably have to look into a couple of criteria. Let's say, for example, if your business has always been very traditional, has always been very traditional. So the question here would be, are you able to expand? Okay, because we are talking about expanding it in such manner that where most people are actually physically not in contact with each other, but everybody is in contact with each other virtually. So if it's a traditional business, meaning that are you going to have a physical product, physical kind of interaction services? So if that is the case, and if you want to expand it, then it's probably not expand the business in the traditional way. May actually have to go into selling things or making the service online, and having it to have an outreach program to reach customers that couldn't come to you, but instead you go to them. I think this is one of the criteria that we have to look at. The second criteria is also while during the transitions, let's say, for example, you're running a very traditional business and you intend to move upstream, then you have to ask yourself, the kind of supports that you have, the kind of employees that you have, skill set wise, do they have? Because it is not so much as if you're a small little startup, you're a small little SME, I think pivoting will probably make it allow you to do it quite quickly. But if you're a very big traditional business of 50, 100 people, I think the mindset, the resistance level will probably be high. So the transition is always one of the biggest challenge if you want to expand your business. And of course, the third one, as I mentioned, will probably be whether is this market sustainable. Because here's the thing, probably about a couple of months ago, nobody actually thought about doing customized of mask, your face mask. But now, if you look at it, almost everywhere, anywhere, you can see everybody doing some form of customizations, some form of personalizations. So that's a short little window that you actually plow into it. May probably give you some earnings. But however, if you happen to evolve your business from traditional business to going to something new during this period of time, but what happened if this market evolve again? Are you able to sustain? I think these are the few questions that personally I would feel that it has to be answered first before you decide how to expand and what to expand. Thanks.
Right. So the answer is yes, but you have to be prepared for that and know what you want to achieve when you expand your business, right?
Yes.
So, Craig, do you have any opinion on whatever Paddy is saying? What do you think? Should business expand their business in times like this?
I'm probably going to give maybe a consulting answer, and I think it depends. I think wholeheartedly I would probably agree with Paddy more so than not agree. That's also because I guess if they're growing, they're hiring and we're getting projects, so slightly biased in my opinion in that respect. But I think growing for the sake of growing is probably not a good strategy. If you see some opportunity to grow, I think you have to take, certainly as CEOs, co-founders, regional directors, really understanding what is the market like there, how competitive is it, and it also depends what you mean by growth. Is it purely looking at growth from a sales perspective and then bringing on salespeople to take advantage, like Paddy said, of the personalized mass situation? That's great. Put your technology in place in terms of e-commerce selling. I think that's a good strategy. But if it's growing as a new location that maybe at the start of the year you had the plan to open a new country, you've really got to take a step back and I think assess what the impact of that is going to be. Can you hire? Do you have the network to really get across the legal, I guess, constraints of opening up? Can you do the process and execute it? I think an example I can probably reference is one of our clients that we're working with is setting up out of London to set up a Singapore office. They have plans to execute the hire in August, but because they're involved in the fintech space, there's a bit of AML KYC regulation that they need to adhere to. Essentially what happened is that they had to push back their opening of the office by 3 months because the documents that the lawyers needed were in the office and they were going to get to the office. So I think they could push through. They could have had all their infrastructure in place and said, hey, look, we're open. But if a client calls them up, there's nobody physically on the ground to service them. So that probably could have been more damaging from a brand perspective if they pushed through it and not had the right relationships on board. It really depends, I think, and understanding what cash flow you would have as well. I think what we've seen from our clients is those businesses that are quite stable and have the right reserves in place are probably a bit more well positioned to say, hey, yeah, look, we can do it. There's certainly some opportunity. Whereas those that typically need to look at restructuring and maybe unfortunately letting go of some staff or really cutting back on certain spending, then definitely not right. So I think it just depends what you're in, and maybe as Paddy mentioned, if you can pivot your business, then definitely sort of how do you do it? Take more of an agile risk assessment approach that just be confident of your own ability to understand your business and your customers, your own chance to make money. And then if you feel that at the end of a probably quicker risk assessment process, it's worthwhile, why not? I think there's definitely a lot of opportunities to be had here.